on this episode 65 of the podcast, I'm going to talk about Netflix prices, selling cars, and goats. Yeah, we're going to talk about goats. But not goats, but goats. Anyway, let's get into the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Luke Who's Talking podcast. Hello, audio listener, and also hello, video viewer. For the video viewer, I wish this was better. I wish this setup I had was better. And it's not. So I'm sorry for that. But anyway, if you're listening and you think, might want to watch, hop on over to YouTube and search up Luke Who's Talking on YouTube. And you can watch this in video and look at my really lousy thumbnails as well. I need to work on that as well. 2021 could be the year of making video better and the thumbnails better. Anyway, that's enough of that. But speaking of video, whoa, what a segue. Let's talk about Netflix briefly. So I've had a Netflix account for 2, maybe 3 years, and I guess a friend and I actually halved the cost of it because we have the middle tier. So it's the three tiers of Netflix. You've got your standard tier, one screen, I think it's just standard HD or 1080 or whatever. And then the middle tier is you're going to have it on, it's 2 screens, and I think you get HD, full HD. And then you got like the family or the top tier where I think you can have 4, 5 screens maybe. You can have, you get 4K resolution. So that's like the top end. Anyway, what's happening is, now I'm not 100% sure if it's happening, I think the first and the second tier. I'm not sure about the first one, but I think the first and the second tier. Anyway, prices are going up. There's a price increase. So I currently pay, actually, no, I don't. The price is up as of the December billing period. If I recall from the email, emails, plural, I got about it. So I used to pay $13.99, so we'll say $14. It's going up $2 a month to, we'll say $16. But no, I'm not going to say $6. That's $15.99. It's going up to $16. So, yeah, Netflix is. See, I halved the cost with a friend of mine. So Netflix is going to cost me an extra $12 a year. That's the price of, I don't know. Can you get a Big Mac meal for $12? I don't know. Not sure. But yeah, it's going up now. I have no problem with Netflix saying we are going to put the price of our service up. That's fine. As Bandrew over on the Bandrew Says podcast always says, they're a company. They have to make money. Of course they do. But, and also if you're a company like Netflix, you're generating income, cash flow, all that, and they're now making a lot of their own content. So they're putting their capital or reinvesting their capital back into the business, which is good. Yeah, I don't want to. My head was going say so. I don't really. I know I say so a bit. It's an easy joining word. I don't want to. Anywho, the price is going up on Netflix from $14 to $16. So it's going to cost me. See, what happens is I pay, and then I just keep a note. My friend reimburses me for the cost. So it's going to cost my coffers an extra $24 a year before I get reimbursed. So what can you get for 24? I think it's interesting. I think if you say it's going up $2 a month, you're like, geez, that's a bit. But 50 cents a week. But if you break it down and say, well, over the year, that's $24. It doesn't really seem like a lot when you're putting it over that span. But yeah, anyway, Netflix it's up. It's gone up. And actually, Netflix was a bit of a dead asset for me. I didn't really watch a lot of content on there. Well, I did and then stopped. But a few weeks ago, I went and house-sitted for a friend, and they don't watch TV. their television, it's a smart TV, you turn it on straight away, it's on Netflix pretty much. So I started watching a couple of things there, and I was like, hey, I've got Netflix. Maybe I should utilise my account a bit more, which I have done. I've started rewatching Rake, which is a bit of fun. Anyway, let's get into the next story. And this is a doozy. This is a doozy what I've got coming up for you. Sorry for the Luke drinking noises there, video watcher. Excuse me. Welcome back. So, I said so. Last episode, I talked about having a car on the market. I'm pretty sure. Let me just quickly refer to my topics. Yes, putting the car on the market. So, I have sold said vehicle. Thank goodness. Car's gone, so I'm a one-car guy. Currently, I'm a one-car guy. I do want to get myself a nice vintage automobile. However, I don't have anywhere to park it. I don't have anywhere to store it. I don't think the garage here would be big enough. It's got too much junk in it. And actually, when I come to think of it, I don't know anybody who has a garage. Actually, a friend of mine is moving into their new house, hopefully in the new year. I wonder what their garage situation is. Maybe I could rent garage space off of them. What do we think, listeners? Some listeners out there will know who it's a mutual friend. They'll know who I'm referring to. What do you reckon? I could rent garage space of this person? Anyway, let's get away from garage space. So, the car. Now, somebody got in contact with me and they seemed like a pretty decent buyer, and they wanted the vehicle inspected, which I thought, that's fair enough, because apparently they were on the mainland. They weren't going to be back onto the island until a couple of days after Christmas, if I recall, and they live up the coast. They just want a vehicle to drive from where they live to the nearest town, pretty much. So I thought that's fair enough. You know, if the car's a shitbox, sort of, that's fine for that, no problem. So the story is, they asked me what days can I take the vehicle for a inspection. They were going to recall a few places. I said whenever, as long as it's not a Wednesday morning, because I usually go bike riding Wednesday mornings. So I was like, I'm not working or anything like that really at the moment, so my days are free. So I was like, Wednesday mornings. It's the only consistent in my life, right? No problem. Then they were like, well, so I called up this place. They said they could take it Monday, ring up, get it organised. Now, to be fair, I didn't call this particular mechanic shop straight away. I think I did it the next day, or it might have been the morning of the second day. Okay, but now let's just keep in mind, they told me that they could take the car on a Monday to be checked. When I called them, they said, oh no, we can't take it until like the next Friday, as it were. So surely waiting like 2 days or 1.5 days or whatever it was hadn't blown out this particular business's, books by quite literally a week. So I was like, okay. So I've said, yeah, I'll bring it in Friday, whatever time, no problem. But then I thought, well, we have a friend who's a mechanic, and they're like, a proper old school mechanic, whatever else. So I thought to myself, I wonder if they can take the car and have a look. So I got in contact with them. They said, yes, they could do it on the Tuesday. So I thought, right, I can get it done quicker. No problem. Now, the purchaser, I said to them, look, I've got it in somewhere else quicker. It's a friend, mechanic, family mechanic. And they were like, they had no objection to that, okay? They had no objection to that. So that's fine. So took the car, got it checked, got a bit of a report, scanned it, emailed it to this person. Then I got a text back, okay, saying, this is where things, right, saying, there is no business at the address on the paperwork that I got. There's no business, that address, and the phone numbers don't work. Where'd you take it? Take it to this other place, or I'll move on. Right? Was the thing. So I just sent back, this is where I took it. Okay, this is the business's name. This is where I took it. I've not received a message back from this person, and the car's been sold anyway, so whatever. But I just was like, this is an escalation, unnecessary. Okay. Also, and I did think to myself, okay, the business, the business owner, they are starting to think about retiring. So maybe some of the information online's sort of been taken down or whatever. Anyway, so I Googled some stuff. So I Googled, and I also used Bing. I thought I'll use an alternative search engine. So I Googled the business address, and here's a plot twist for you. It told me that the business name of a business was at that address. I Googled the business name, and it told me that it was at its address. And I Googled the phone number, and it told me it was at that address. And they were like, oh, but these numbers aren't connected. And the day I took the vehicle to said mechanic shop, I was called on the number. I told potential buyer to ring, and I called and talked on the number that I gave them. So there's no problem with the numbers, no problem with the business existing, no problem with it existing at the address that was on the paperwork and that I supplied, right? So, yeah, don't know what that was about. Bizarre. I will say, though, one thing is I did search the address and the business, etc. on Yandex, and nothing came up. So maybe they're using Yandex and not, another search engine like Google or Bing. So there you go, everybody. And I was talking to a friend about it, and they were like, this can't be legit. Surely not. This can't be legit. And I was like, anyway, whatever. Somebody else bought the car, so it's not my problem. There we go. But and I'm thinking about getting another vehicle, getting a new car, because I sold a full drive. I've got a small car. I'm thinking about getting something to sort of like an SUV, right? So my car I currently have now, I'm like, when I go and get a new car, I might just trade it so it's gone and I don't have to deal with the tire kicks and this, this business doesn't exist. Maybe I should have called the person and like challenged them a bit more on that, but I just was like, whatever. I had the ad paused online as well while I had this stuff done, and then as soon as I was like, this business doesn't exist, I just thought, unpausing the ad, like reposting it. This car's got to go. I'm done with it. Sort of. Anyway, so the car's gone, which is good. It's not my problem anymore. Anyway, let's talk about goats briefly. This is a longer episode, that's for sure. Welcome back, everybody. Now, let's talk about goats. Now, when I say goats, I mean the greatest of all time, right? Goats, greatest of all time. And I've got a thought on that. The concept of the goat in that vein doesn't exist. It doesn't exist, right? Because if you think of goats, they're like, basketball players, sports people, okay? Goats. So we'll say, like, LeBron James, he's the GOAT. He's not. Because, look, he's the greatest player of his generation, as Michael Jordan was the greatest player of his generation. Larry Bird, one of the greats of his generation. There is the concept of being the greatest of all time is flawed. It doesn't exist. I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about this in regards to racing, and talking about Lewis Hamilton. He's now 7 times Formula One world champion. So it's equal to Michael Schumacher. He has the most victories. I think he's not, in the early 90s. I think he'd be getting close to 100. And they're like, is he the GOAT? And somebody said, no, he is the greatest of his generation of drivers. He's not as great as Schumacher before him. He's not as great as, Lauda, as Jackie Stewart, as Jack Brabham, Sterling Moss, or, drivers of the 80s, Senna, and, Prost, for example, Damon Hill, Nigel Mansell. They're all great drivers, and none of them are any better than the other. He is the greatest driver of this period. He is the greatest driver of this generation. He is not the greatest ever, because the concept of the greatest ever doesn't exist. If you think about, we'll say about football, right? For example, Australian rules football. If you're thinking of forwards, so players that kick goals, you can say, well, Lance Franklin, he's the GOAT. He's not, because is he as great? He's maybe the best of this crop of players, best of his generation, but he is not better or greater than Lockett, Dunstall, Ablett, John Coleman, players of the past. And actually, John Coleman, the Coleman Medal, which is the medal the leading goal kicker receives at the end of the season, it's named after him because he was the greatest of his time. So the award was named after him. So the concept of the idea of a GOAT being the greatest of all time, no, you are the greatest of your generation. You can never be the greatest of all time until somebody else comes along and is better, apparently. So you just say this person is the greatest, they are the best right now with the current generation. You can be the greatest of your generation, but you can't be the greatest of all time. There we go. What do you think? What are your thoughts? Do you have any GOAT thoughts? Let me know. Anyway, let's wrap things up. This is a long podcast. Well, everybody, thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching as well. And you can get in contact with me at the email lukewhostalkingpod@gmail.com. I'd be interested actually to hear some feedback on, have you had any drama selling a car? People saying this mechanic shop doesn't exist. Or what are your thoughts on GOATs? I feel like I needed to burp. What are your thoughts on GOATs? Hey? Anyway, wow, I just need a burp. You can tweet me at L_who's talking. And of course, we're on Facebook, Luke Who's Talking Pod. No, it's not. Just get it on Facebook and search up Luke Who's Talking Pod. I think what I might do, 2021, I think I might can the Facebook page. I think the Facebook page might get deleted. I do nothing on there. And actually, next episode, if I remember, because there will be a show Christmas Day. So we're going to have a show on Christmas Day. Yeah. This is Friday, 18th next week. Yes, so we'll have a show on Christmas Day, and I will talk to you about something that's going off Facebook, actually, but I've been involved in, I've done since the beginning, since I first got on Facebook. So I'll talk about that. And so as a result, my usage, I think, of Facebook, I mean, it has gone down quite a lot, but I think it's going to be maybe not existent after this particular thing on Facebook goes. Anyway, everybody, thank you very much. I'll talk to you Christmas Day. I hope you've got your shopping done. Mine's done. And be safe, have fun, and all that jazz. And I'll see you next time.